and not have consequences for that. Just because you're the top star in the company, you should not be excused from that. So he lost a lot of big stars in one fell swoop, and it wasn't about what a great show they had. It was about all the bullshit that came after the show, and all the drama that came out of it, and the investigation, and all of the nonsense. That is not something that Tony Khan needed. It was not something that made Tony Khan look good as he sat there and just listened to Punk going on about somebody who wasn't even on the fucking show, who had nothing to do with the show, going off on Scott Colton. Who gives a shit? Talking about politics and talking about people talking behind his back, whether it's true or not, it was not the right forum for him to air those grievances. We had Festivus on Friday. That's when you air the grievances. You don't air the grievances at the post-show scrum on what should have been a happy night for AEW. We had Tony Khan buying Ring of Honor from Sinclair Broadcast Group. Tony Khan was a huge fan of Ring of Honor back in the day. He did not want to see Ring of Honor fall into the hands of Vince McMahon and WWE and turned into a tab on Peacock. He wanted to try to preserve the legacy of Ring of Honor and breathe new life into the company when clearly Sinclair was not going to do that. Sinclair basically shut down Ring of Honor. It was supposed to be a temporary shutdown at the end of last year. But I think when it happened, a lot of people, myself included, looked at that and said, yeah, they claim they'll be back up and running in April, but I had my doubts. Tony Khan evidently had his doubts. So he swooped in, he bought Ring of Honor, and he went on Dynamite back at the beginning of March, and he made that big announcement at Daly's Place. You know, the name on the contract isn't Shane. It's not Shane, it's me. He's such a nerd, but he's a wrestling nerd, right? He loves wrestling. He's the big super fan. He's throwing his money around, and he thinks that he could help revive Ring of Honor, which is something that has yet to happen. He tried to get a television deal for them. He was unsuccessful. Ring of Honor is not going to have a show on Honor Club if they have interest from an actual television network. So he tried, and so far he failed to secure a television deal. Ring of Honor still has no weekly show. They will in 2023. What that will look like, we don't know yet. The jury is still out of whether or not this is going to be a success. It may not be viable. Who knows if Ring of Honor will still be run as a separate entity a year from now. Tony Khan is also a businessman, and if it's not working, at some point he may have to pull the plug. I used to be a Ring of Honor fan as well. Some of the most fun experiences that I've ever had at a wrestling show came at live Ring of Honor shows in the mid-2000s. So I have a place in my heart in wrestling fandom for Ring of Honor, just like a lot of other people do. But can Ring of Honor be sustained as its own separate entity? I don't know. Tony Khan has a tough hill to climb if he's going to make that work, especially with all of the attention that he has to pay to AEW and talent that isn't being used, and when stuff like the media scrum comes up, that's where his focus needs to be. So is he going to bring in somebody to kind of help oversee things with Ring of Honor? I mean, we don't know. There's still a lot of questions that are unanswered about this. How big of a story this will truly end up being, because right now it just feels more like a vanity project than anything else. But at the time, when he announced it, that was big news. And there were a lot of fans who were very excited to see what he would do with it. I think a lot of those fans, their excitement waned when they saw that AEW was being turned into Ring of Honor on some weeks. That's not what they wanted. But what 2023 holds for ROH, we have to wait and see. And then there's Cody Rhodes, one of the founding fathers and EVPs of AEW, leaving the company. He becomes the first EVP to leave, to go back to WWE. This was a shocking story because I think a lot of people didn't actually think that this would happen. There were rumors about it. There were people joking about how we're going to see Cody in the Royal Rumble. And even I kind of knocked those rumors and said, yeah, okay, you'll see me in the Royal Rumble this year before you see Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes did not make the Royal Rumble, but Cody Rhodes was at WrestleMania. And he made a hell of a return. When he came back, this was not the same Cody Rhodes that left the company 6 years ago. This was not Stardust. He came back and he felt like a star. He went away and he showed Vince McMahon, look, this is what I can do. I can be a main event star. I can be a top attraction for you. Just give me the chance. He had unfinished business in this company. He didn't like the way that he left WWE in the first place. And whatever the issues were that led to him deciding, I have to leave here and I'm going to go back to WWE, That was a huge loss for Tony Khan. And it was a huge loss for what it said, which is that if Cody could leave, then anybody can leave. Because Cody, you would look at him and think this guy's going to be AEW for life. He was one of the founding fathers of this company. He was the one going on television and taking little pot shots and digs at WWE, and yet he's the first one to go back. So for as much as what it represents, about the pendulum starting to swing in the other direction, so much of that talent, it was pretty much all going in one direction, right? They were fleeing WWE, and they were going the other way. All of a sudden, it felt like the pendulum is starting to swing in the other direction. And Cody, before he got hurt, it was only a few months, but he was having a hell of a run. Undefeated, going out there, having great matches with Seth Rollins. He had that performance at Hell in a Cell. He's going to come back. Cody Rhodes is going to be the WWE champion. As soon as WrestleMania this year, Cody Rhodes will be the WWE champion. So for him, it's been a huge change. But for AEW, it was a huge loss. We had William Regal. William Regal started the year fired by WWE. He got swept up in that whole mess of everybody being let go from Triple H's team down at NXT. He got fired. Then he signed with AEW. Then he asked to leave AEW a few months ago. And he ends 2022